Hello, I'm Addons and this is the second part of my Holy Priest guide for patch 6.2. If you want to learn the basics, please check out the first part. Now let's get right into it, starting with the talents. The first tier is a choice between two personal defensive cooldowns, Desperate Prayer and Angelic Bulwark, and Spectral Guise is for PvP. Desperate Prayer is the preferred one in general since it is a more powerful heal, though I personally like Angelic Bulwark because it can save you from dying even if you don't know it, and for progression and learning new fights it is a better option. So Prayer is better, but it requires another action bar and better understanding of the raid you are clearing. In the second tier are our speed increase talents, and the choice is between two of them again. Body and Soul, which buffs our powered shield to increase your target's movement speed by 60%. I don't even have a shield on my hotbar as a Holy Priest, so that talent isn't an option for me, but it is still a lot easier to control than Angelic Feather. However, if you have a Dispel Priest in your raid, don't ever use your shield over theirs, and Feather then becomes mandatory, even if you are unable to boost anyone but yourself. The level 45 tier has again two choices, this time between Surge of Light and Mindbender. As always, a Mindbender is for low-geared priests without much spirit, since it gives the most mana over time. But if you are comfortable with your mana regen and you should be somewhere around 680 item level, you should switch to Surge of Light. It doesn't do much most of the time, meaning it procs way too rarely, though when it does, it's amazing. Free instant cast Flash of Light heals are nothing to laugh at, especially because they still generate Serendipity stacks. So use Mindbender till you know you don't need it, then switch to the other one. And bear in mind that when you switch difficulty levels, let's say from Heroic to Mythic, you will probably need to switch back to Mindbender just to be on the safe side. At level 60, the choice is pretty much meaningless. It's all CC abilities for PvP, and the only useful one is Void Tendrils, since they work more times than the other two. Once more, in the level 85 talents, you have a choice between two talents, Twists of Fate and Power Infusion. So Power Infusion is a major cooldown and Twists of Fate is a strong passive. Generally, Twists is better in every situation, but Infusion, since it's a cooldown, can be more useful when your raid doesn't have enough cooldowns to go around, or you need just one more, plus on fights that require a lot of raid cooldowns. In the next tier, you don't have a choice. Cascade is simply better in every situation, except of course in other kinds of content like Mythic dungeons. Same goes for the final tier. There is only one option, Words of Mending, unless again you are in a Mythic dungeon where Saving Grace is better. So that is the Holy Priest talent tree, and in terms of choice, it is somewhere in the middle when compared to the other classes. There are a couple of choices, but most are situational, and I guess that's better than nothing. Moving on to Glyphs. I never switch out these three, though there are one or two possible replacements for Fade. As for Glyph of Circle of Healing and Renew, they are unreplaceable. The extra person healed with Circle and the extra healing from Renew are the best glyphs in terms of pure value. Though if you are still struggling with mana, even if you're using Mindbender, consider switching out the Circle glyph. I don't see how that could be possible though. So what are the replacements for Fade? Let's see. The only ones that improve our healing are the Binding Heal Glyph and Deeper Wells. The other ones are situational at best. So sad to say, but our glyphs are nothing to write home about. So there are a few useful macros, though similar to the ones I showed off in my Holy Pala guide. First we have the target party member 1, 2 and 3, which can be replaced with your name and the names of your tanks, so that you can target the priority targets with the scroll of a mouse, which is, by the way, where I bound the macros. As for priest specific ones, I made a stopcasting fade macro, though it is only for PvP. The same macro, however, can be used for your priority spell, Circle of Healing. Target self with our holy word Fortitude. Nothing special, but still useful when you want to rebuff and your target is out of range. The spell will still reach everyone and you don't need to move anywhere or change your target. Same for Cascade. It targets you every time without having to switch targets or even having to target anything. And you don't lose any healing this way, you only get a quality of life improvement. Then there is a macro I learned in PvP, and it basically removes an action bar on your hotbar by combining Purify, your Dispel, and Dispel Magic, your Purge. It works like this. When you target a friendly player, you purify them, and when you target an enemy, you purge them. A really neat macro. Finally, the 4 macros for our 4 DPS abilities. They are all the same, so let's take a look at the Shadowfiend one. When targeting an ally, you cast the macro and it will cast the Shadowfiend or Mindbender, if you have the talent, on the target of your target. If it's another ally though, nothing will happen. Same goes for Shadow Word Pain, Smite and Holy Fire. In terms of add-ons, I don't use much for my priest, there are the general ones though. Move Anything for my UI, Omni CC for cooldowns, Quartz for the casting bar and DBM. And the only one I made specifically for my priest is with weak auras, for Serendipity stacks, since it is the only proc we need to track outside of our cooldowns. It's very simple. A white icon shows up above my character for 1 stack and it changes to yellow when I have 2 stacks. All of the macros and the script for this add-on will be in the description. To wrap things up, let's shortly discuss gearing in 6.2. The stat priority goes like this: Multi-strike, haste, mastery, versatility and crit. Multi-strike and haste work amazingly with our mastery and our renew. That's why they are the best stats. Mastery is clearly useful and versatility, as for every other class, is good as a second stat in a gear piece, if nothing else is available. Crit is by far the worst stat and you should avoid it with a passion. As for the tier bonuses, they are garbage compared to the previous tier. Yeah, the 2 set gives 6% haste, which is our second best stat, but really it's nothing special, and the 4th set is even worse. Prayer of Mending has a 10% chance to heal someone when it splits. Yeah. So the gameplay doesn't change in any way, we just get a passive that is weaker than the previous 4 set. The Archimond Trinket is fun, as for almost every other class. It buffs heal to ludicrous amounts and it becomes a priority while in Sanctuary, so always. Without the trinket, every other spell is better to cast than heal. So it does change the priority system and in turn the entire gameplay. That's all I wanted to say when it comes to the Holy Priest. If I missed anything or if I made a mistake, as I'm sure I have, correct me by writing in the comments. And if you are interested in more guides like this and the Holy Paladin one, I do take requests. Anyway, thanks for watching and see you next time.